Black Jesus, what's up, brother?
Hey,
How
what's
you
up,
doing
man?
tonight?
I can't lose. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Listen, that was Miss Sabina. Her TikTok name is the voice of Sabina Lynn. I'm sure you've been in a room with her before, and I'm sure she knows you. That was her speaking in that video. You heard what she
Just
had to say
straight
about
factual
submission.
information. Just nonstop,
Yeah,
sobering,
you heard
honest.
what she had to say about submission. She
Yeah,
very much is an advocate for women being submissive um to men. So, I mean, you like I said, you always have great insight on a lot of these things. So I'm curious to hear, what your insight is on what you heard her say and just what your insight on submission is overall for women being submissive to men.
all right. So, whenever you have more than one person together, if two people are going to be together, they have to cooperate with one another because life itself, being a living being, is a task. And if you're going to take on that task with another person, then you have to cooperate. Whenever you have two people who are in a state of cooperation, there forms a hierarchy. A hierarchy always forms. And in that hierarchy, you typically have the man in the leadership position because we're a third larger than you. We bend you over for sex, right? Our emotional volume has been turned down. We are the emotional stoic typically of the relationship, typically, not always, but almost always. And so men fit a leadership role. And by that, we've taken on the responsibility of putting our lives before yours. And as it pertains to living for you, working for you, dying for you, killing for you, right? And what a person who gives that type of commitment to you, protect, provide, provision for a lifetime, die for if necessary, deserves your submission. Okay? And what is submission? Submission is a position of agreeability. That means that if you come up with a plan, I want to follow it with you. Okay? And a default position of agreeability, right? A default position of agreeability and willful cooperation. That means that whatever plan you come up with, I want to do it. I may decide not to do it, but I want to do it. And whatever plan I decide to do with you, I'm going to give it my best effort. That's what submission is, ladies. Submission is not a man that can slap you around or shut you down, put his hands on you, demean you, disrespect you. That is not submission. That's abuse. Submission is a form of cooperation and it exists in all hierarchies at your job, in the military, at a preschool, everywhere. You have to submit, you have to yield to the hierarchy of that structure. And your household is not a safe haven for hierarchies, ladies. It's not. There's a hierarchy in your home. It goes God, man, woman, child. That's what was laid out in the biblical text, which is an allegory about how men and women are supposed to work together to have exist inside of a system that's going to produce the best outcome, the Garden of Eden for man and woman. And what was the very first sin? It was Adam simping for Eve. It was him putting his purpose that God had given him to the side and instead prioritizing Eve's curiosity. Now that's not because Eve is evil. Eve is not evil. Women are not evil, but women are a part of nature. You are a part of nature. Your mating and dating selection is a force of nature that chooses which genes go into the next generation. So women are the purveyor. They are a force of nature. Like they are a part of evolution. Divine, absolutely divine. A woman is. She is a part of nature itself. And so that's not neither good or bad. That's past it. That's divine. That's past good or bad. That's women. And when a man puts your needs above his purpose, then don't none of this shit work. You don't respect those men. You don't stay with those men. You girls like leaders. That's what you say all the time. I want a man who can lead. I want
Facts.
somebody who can step up to the plate. Okay, well, what do you plan to do with a man who can step up to the plate that you won't follow? And when you don't put yourself in a position of submission to the hierarchy, then instead what you do is you put yourself in a position of competition. And that position of competition means somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And that's what we're seeing play out in our community. That's what we're seeing. So that woman, whoever she is, that masked marauder, that hero, she was telling y'all the truth. Ain't a word she said I have a problem with. And I'll tell you this, my generation, we're the older folks. We were raised by people, some of us were raised by people when the nuclear family was still the primary idea of how we're supposed to come together and cooperate, because the institution of marriage is still the best institution for the rearing of children. Okay? And your children are the most important part of you, not your bag, not getting flowed out, none of that. It's your kids, because they're going to go on to take over the world. Right? That's what you leave behind. Not your purses, not your nails, not your job. Your kids are the proof that you were ever here. And what job you did with them says something about you. And so the best institution for the rearing of children is marriage. So it's not having 3 kids by 3 different men. It's none of that. That's not what's best, obviously. When 80% of the people in jail were raised by just their mamas. 80% of people who great folks were raised by just their mamas. 90% of people who have been institutionalized, raised by their mamas. 71% of people who drop out of high school, raised by their mamas. No dad, baby mamas. So this isn't an attack on women. This is explaining to you guys the importance of the concept of cooperation. That it was so important that the very first lesson the Bible teaches, that includes the story of men and women, is the order of operation: God, man, woman, child. And that's how you're in the Garden of Eden in a natural state that's going to produce the best fruit and prosperity. And God never spoke to Eve. He only spoke to Adam in this allegory, right? And the only time he talked to Eve was to hand her punishment and kick her ass out the garden. Now, there was another woman before Eve. If you guys read the Apocrypha, there was another woman before Eve named Lilith. Lilith was made out of sand, just like Adam, not out of his rib. She wasn't made to be a helpmeet. She was made to be an equal. She was just a female. And she saw herself as equal to Adam, and they didn't get along, so they kicked her ass out the garden. And she mated with all the unborn things outside of the garden. And her children became the vampires and werewolves and witches and all of the shit we make stories about. This is all an allegory. I'm not saying this stuff is real. It's a story that was made up to teach us a lesson. And so now what do we see with the daughters of Eve? The independent, 50-50. I'm single, I'm independent, I don't need a man, boss chick, goddesses, queens, Nefertiti the sea moss. What do we see with these grandiose ego women who have children outside of wedlock? 88% of the black men in jail were raised by just their mothers. That's what we see. We see that their children are the folks who are eating away at the fabric of society. They can't participate. They can't maintain healthy relationship. Nothing. They out here struggling. And it's our people. Our people. 1.3 billion people in Africa. 42,900,000 people in North America. 151 million people between Central and South America. Black skin. 20% of Canada. Black skinned people. We're the most dominant race on the planet, no matter what position we are socially, because we have the most dominant genes. When we mate with anything else, it's a black. The most unrealistic thing about movies in the future are the white people. The concept that they will exist in another 50 years is fucking pure science fiction. Right? And that's not being a black supremacist or nothing like that. It's just fact. Because our genes only need one genetic marker to express themselves, whereas white genes need 2. So eventually we will consume them. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. The first people were us. Right now we're last, and the last people shall be first again. We can't. It's inexorable. White supremacy is the only reason white people exist. Because if they made it with us, we would swallow them up.
Hmm.
So you got the most powerful people on the planet. The highest seat of consciousness on the planet is are black people, melanated, melanin $350 a gram. Each one of you are millions of dollars walking around, and you tattooing your body up. No chastity, no modesty. Your temperament is terrible, and it's a game. And now we're erasing the genders. There's no male, there's no female, right? It's all bullshit. It's become this nebulous fucking conversation about male and female. And what is the outcome? You can measure whether or not the shit works by the outcome. We're at the bottom. We're at the bottom. That's where we are. Strongest, smartest. We're the only cultural export this whole country has. Ain't nobody wearing 10-gallon hats in fucking Korea. They're wearing Jordans. They want to dance like us, be like you, black woman, be like me, you, black man. The whole damn world. We're the only cultural export that America has. We tell the entire world how to speak and how to present themselves. And look at us. It's
Hmm.
a bunch of bullshit. So she nailed it.
Well, hey, ladies, listen. Hey, we're gonna have Miss Demetia speak. Miss Demetia, I want you to first address your thoughts on what she said in the video. Um, and then you can speak on what your thoughts are on just submission in general. And then you did get to hear a lot of what Black Jesus had to say. So if you want to address anything that he had to say, you can do that as well. The floor is yours. These are two happily divorced people up here. These are two, successful people that, run their independent businesses up here. And again, if you the floor is for women tonight, because I'm interested to hear what y'all had to say about what she had to say in the video and submission in general. So if you want to speak, you're allowed to come up here. But go ahead, Mr. Michia.
First of all, thank you, Noble. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and be on your platform yet again. Hello to everyone listening and viewing. And so, in regards to what she said, yes, I was on the panel. When was it?
Right.
Yesterday,
Yeah.
when she shared her thoughts on submission. I did not agree 100% with everything that she said, but when it comes to submission being viewed as monetary, like for example, I will submit to you because you can't afford to take care of 100% of the bills. That's not realistic for me. Again, that's not realistic for me. I agree when she was sharing her sentiments that if you chose a man that makes 20K annually and he is an awesome nurturer to the children and he provides other things in the household other than, well, coupled with what he brings in monetary, you should still submit. I believe that. I believe what the Bible says. I believe that also submission is yin and yang. Some of the I don't look up to every married couple. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, just because you tell me you've been married 30, 40 years, I like to ask intuitive questions. Are you happy? Um, was it long or short, 40 or 50 years? Everybody's 40 and 50 years ain't Bible. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
and that's, I'm not saying perfect, because God uses the imperfect. He already brings two imperfect people. But what I'm saying is, um, I just don't subscribe to just every couple like it's the dream. Um, there are some people that are married that are roommates. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that are married because of prestige. I don't subscribe to neither one of those. And both of those can accumulate years. I'm into substance. And like I said, I feel as though the best way to go about it is what was already set in order by our creator, God. So because I am a believer, it's deeply invested in my core. So if I meet a man and he's making 40K and we are compatible, and my idea of being in a relationship, courtship, engagement, and marriage, a covenant, is we build well together. I also feel like as an individual, before we come together, when it comes to a man, you know that you're dealing with a man, especially when a man is going through the right-handed passage between like teenage years to a man. You're dealing with a man when he doesn't knock down what he builds. So if I meet someone and he's already self-aware, disciplined, and he's already building in his singleness, I can get with that. Someone who can build with me. So it's not about necessarily how much he has accumulated, nor do I want it to be necessarily about how much I've accumulated. What can we build together? You know what I'm saying? What can we fasten together? That's what represents marriage to me. And then not trying to create escape routes, being mentally sound and sober and vigilant about protecting what we're building at all costs. That's what substance is to me as far as marriage. And that's also a yin and yang thing, because there's going to be times when God speaks through me and God didn't choose to go through him. That's Bible. And there's going to, and vice versa. So with that, the core of that has to be God braided into your covenant. I'm talking about every step of the way. You as an individual, when y'all courting, and when y'all decide to do a covenant before God. So with that said, you had it makes you, because God is not gonna allow you to look at your partner like their absolute God or end all be all. You're going to have to go to God and filter your thoughts and the disharmony to God. And God is going to instruct the two of you on who each other is. That's natural. And with that said, there, like I said, sometimes marriages, I don't want to be too deep, but this is just my ideology. Sometimes couples can be complacent about who they chose. And then, or you go into ideologies like, this is the role you're going to play, this is the role I should play. And I want to say this: when you're dating someone, ask them what is their idea of marriage. Not that they just want to be married, because that person can say, I want to be married, and then everything seems like it's clicking in, but then they tell you across the dinner table, yeah, I feel as though the woman should be doing this in the marriage and the man should be doing that, and it can go against how you feel. So with that said, when you do finally submerge yourself into marriage, you have to leave space and try not to be complacent, to where God can speak through y'all and show you who your partner is. And with that, I feel as though when your person is connected to God and connected to you, they'll know when they need to be submitted to you. That's also how you learn. And a lot of people are missing their moral compass. It's all the way off. They shut it all the way off. How do I know? Because they go off what they see and how they feel. And being in a marriage is no joke. It's deeper than how you feel, how they look, some money, kids. This is a bona fide covenant. What you're supposed to be. It's supposed to be till death do us part. It's a vow. It's instructing your words on how to construct your life. You said till death do you part. So when you're saying that and you're making a covenant before God, just know that anything you're doing before God, you got to leave space for. In your day-to-day life, in your singleness, you got to leave space for God to move. And like I said, submission is yin and yang. And in regards to what basically Black said, I don't agree with everything he said. Let's get into it. Let's get into the statistics that he said about, Black women, um, the people that are the men that are in prison, that are raised by just the mother. I just want to focus on that.
Excuse me, Mr. Misha, really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just, because you are about to address, comments that he made. As you address them, do you want y'all to go back and forth, or do you want to address everything he said and
No,
then
no, no,
have?
no. No, okay. Thank you for asking. So, when it comes to me, I'm all about a resolution. Now, if this is now, I'm going to speak on it, and I want him to hear my thought completely,
Okay.
let me complete my thought. And then, yes, I want some dialogue because how it sounds. There's one, like if a person speaks, the next thing you want to say is this what I'm hearing you say? Because it can translate different to me and the audience. Okay. So, yes, I
Okay.
definitely want his feedback because I want and desire, and the goal today is healthy dialogue. And I'm
Of course.
all about building our community up. And like I say on my platform, we have what it takes on the inside. I do not, I don't like being on platforms where all they do is tear down men and women of any race. I'm about building. And I feel like whoever anybody is, they have something on the inside to help add a brick to build our community back up. So I'm about resolution and purpose today, and always will be. So even if we strongly disagree, then so be it. He has his
Right.
viewpoints and I have mine, but I absolutely want feedback to make sure I heard him correctly.
All
Okay.
right. Sounds good.
Okay. So
Right.
addressing what he said, it sound like you were laying the burden of what's gone wrong with men on the statistic that they were raised by only a mother. Um, Before I go on, basically, Black, is that true or false?
Thank you for asking. And I'm going to say this really quick before I respond. It's my goal to have a meaningful and respectful dialogue with you too. So I'm going to try to do my best job to listen to you. And I'm going to try to do my best job to answer your questions as directly as possible so that we can move through the topics, in a meaningful way. Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Cool, absolutely. So you said, do I believe that it is all of the blame is to be laid at the feet of the mother? And no, I do not believe that. I do believe that there's gradations to how much blame to lay at one foot or another. And what I find, and I'm not going to pontificate on this because you asked this question to set up your response, so I don't want to deter you from your own ideas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is I believe that we don't assign any blame as a community to the women until the last couple of years. So, and when I hear women talk about single mothers who have multiple children by multiple men outside of wedlock, I do not hear the same dialogue that we hear on the men's side. So the men are constantly told to hold these men accountable, whereas we call them Pookies and Ray Rays, and we aren't nice about how we talk about these men. We don't look up to them. We call them out constantly, right? We're like, hey, these guys, we don't know why you women want to deal with these guys. They're trash. They're the bottom 20%, blah, blah, blah. So we're very vocal about judging and shaming men who behave this way. But on the female side, we hear that they're goddesses and queens and they're victims of these men, no matter how many children they reproduce outside of wedlock. And so
Mm-hmm.
when men try to create accountability on the woman's side, after creating accountability on the man's side, then it seems that we can't get you guys to see that we have been holding the men accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are not giving them a pass, but we need to talk about the woman too, because she's not a victim. She's a co-conspirator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In what way?
Because she decided to reproduce for a man that did not want to marry her, that also, in statistically, right, this is a majority, has children already by other women outside of wedlock. And so if you choose to give access to your body to a man like that, pregnancy can be a mistake between men and women. It can be an accident. But choosing to carry a child is a personal choice. It is a woman's choice. And to choose to carry a child for a man that doesn't want you for a wife and doesn't and is not asking for children and or has children outside of wedlock by other women that he is not taking care of those children, that is something that happens more often than these other instances that get brought up when we talk about these things. We get some pretty nuanced, scenarios that women bring up when we talk about this. Oh, what if he had extra kids and I didn't know? That's not what's happening to the majority of these women. So it does happen, and that's a shitty situation, but marry before you carry. but we don't have the accountability there. And it's for you girls to give to one another. And so with our voices saying it's only being received as bashing, and we can't build a community with women who have a mindset that it is okay to become mothers before they become wives.
Okay. I thought, yeah, even you explained it now, it still hits on exactly how I was feeling the first time you said it. Okay. In response to that, let me just use myself for an example, okay? Because you're speaking about me.
Well,
So
you said you were married.
no, I never announced my status.
Well, he said you were married. I'm sorry.
He never said my status.
Yes, he did. He said two divorced people here,
Yeah.
and he was talking
Happily
about the marriage.
divorced. Yeah, I was married. Yeah, I was.
Okay, so then you're a divorcee. You are not part of
Yes.
that conversation to me. But I
But
still want to hear your ideas. So sorry to interrupt. Go right ahead.
right. So again, I am, because I had a second child out of wedlock.
Okay, understood.
Okay. And let me tell you my real raw experience. And wasn't prepared to share this, but it's relevant. And you saying what you have to say, it gave me this pride and dignity that I didn't even know I was going to need on this day, but glory to God anyway. So this is the situation. Had a baby out of wedlock. I don't condone that. Did not want that for my life at all. And was not even sure about having my child. God, God came in and spoke to me and said he wanted me to have my child. So it was a lot of tug of war emotionally for me, spiritually for me. But because I fear God, I was obedient. Our child is wonderful. Our child has changed my life. I appreciate what God did to me and through me. And I want to go just a little deep. When God gives us children, because there are children that come into this world from rape. I want to go that deep. There are children that make it in this world and their parent has an addiction, like the mother has an addiction. When I have candid conversations with God about this, he explained the reason why he allows this to happen, because the blood of that child is pure. And that child comes to correct what the mother and the father has done. They come to do greater than what the two of them had did. And that's whether married or not, because what he did is always good. So if God be for me, who can be against me? When I was going through my go through, where were you? Where was the support? Where was the phone call? God came in and spoke and deemed it so. And I trusted with just a little bit of trust that I had. And it is well. And so to be able to share my testimony clean cut and dry today, even though it was a treacherous situation that was laced in fear and feeling like I'm going to be ridiculed and really the condemnation to my own self, because my own self-worth was trampled on. What his father chose to do or not do, and the act that I chose to do, that I hold myself accountable for, doesn't negate the fact that my child is supposed to be here. Now, I have a responsibility with everything that God has given me. Every hat that God gives me, I'm to walk in the fullness of it. And because he blessed the fruit of my womb and gave me a seed, I'm not going to throw my seed away. See, now back to submission. The problem is this, and hear me loud and clear. And I hope your spirit stand up and salute this. When a man or a woman, as an individual, as a single person, cannot submit to God, what are you going to do to me? So if I become your wife and you're having a hard time submitting to God, and you believe you're a Lord yourself, and you don't fear God and you're not obedient, what are you going to do to me? Because I am a reflection of God. You can't even see the God in me. And this is the root of why we have the issues that we do between men and women, based on their own personal relationship with the creator. Again, if you can't submit to God in your singleness as an individual, what are you going to do to me? The best thing that I would behoove a male or a female to do is at least grow together in God. That's why you're going to have the landmines and the grenades, because you're already going to go through trials and tribulations, it's promised. But in regards to uh, a woman or a man who has to become a single father because of detrimental issues and circumstances, that was my circumstance. 15, my son will be 15 tomorrow. That was the circumstance, the hand that I was dealt. And I would much rather love to tell a story like, yeah, I was married and I had my only child with my ex-husband. I would love to be able to tell that, but that is not so. My circumstance 15 years ago has made me a better person. And a circumstance is not permanent. I can move out of that residence, starting with my mind and how I carry myself. I use it. I use the fertilizer. I use the soil to grow and continue to plant my family. This time, really learning Demetia that, you know what, I moved out of position. But when it comes to God giving you a seed and telling you to nurture it and water it, how dare a father or a mother get off of their post because of what society says? And sometimes even what they telling themselves. And that speaks volumes to the baby who was born to a mother who has an addiction, and God still wanted you here. I have a friend, and her testimonial alone blows me away. She is a baby that was born out of rape and going through her circumstance and moving out of that residence of inadequacy, insecurities that she grew up with. She had a conversation with God, and God explained to her very clearly, and that's how bad I wanted you. But again, remember what I said. When a man and a woman have a child, the baby has the purest blood. The baby is here to do what the mom and dad couldn't do, and do the greater of what they did. Is the greater sum. It's multiplication to God. It's purpose, it's mission with God. So you have a baby who's born out of rape. Their father has cursed the blood. The mother has had sex with someone who's not in marriage, with which God honors. Doesn't mean that you leave your post and that you throw away the child. What the blessing that he's giving you, the seed, you eat the fruit and throw away the seed. No, you plant.
Okay, I want to so just on this thing you just said, okay? So in my opinion, right? And I'm more of a pragmatist, right? You know,
I
I use
understand.
the I use the Bible to try to speak to folks because I know that they have been raised with that information, and so it's familiar. And then it gives the ability for me to say, okay, this isn't something I just came up with. You know, this is like, you know, divine information that has stood the test of time. So that's why I use the Bible. But as a pragmatist, okay, what is happening in our community is and the problem we're having, right? It is that we cannot agree as men and women on how to come together. And the issue that is primary is this out of wedlock childbirth thing that's happening in the
70%,
community
70% Black
where
Jesus.
all of it, yeah, it's 70% of the kids out of 100 black babies, they're being born to unmarried women, and women are the purveyors of children. You guys create people. That is your divine gift. And so, unlike other cultures, 50% of men throughout all time never reproduce. Okay, so men are born all the time and they never get to have a child because no woman sees them fit to give them children. Because
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, living was a struggle. The average person lived to be about 40 years old. It was very hard to stay alive because life itself was just a very arduous task. Now we live inside of this bubble where clean water is abundant and security and safety. We live at the safest time in the world in this country, even with our criticisms of this country, which are justified and are many. Okay. But because of this, okay, you've got our women saying, well, we don't need to cooperate with the men anymore. And literally, the dominant narrative on these channels
Mm-hmm.
is that the women don't have to cooperate. I'm single, I'm independent, I don't need a man. And then
Mm-hmm.
the
I see.
behavioral narratives. are things that drive them away from being wives. City girls up, body count doesn't matter, blah,
Mm,
blah, 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 blah. Marriage is a traditional concept. So men
mm-hmm,
who value marriage, who want to be men of character, protector, provider males, are looking for women who have some amount of virtue. And
mm-hmm,
the dominant messages that are being passed around for our women, not for Jewish women, not for Arab women, not for Indian women, for our women, for my daughter, for my women, is no chastity, it's oppression, it's patriarchy, sexual empowerment, run your body count up, single independent city girls up, right? It's no modesty, show whatever you want. If people are looking at you sexual, then they're sexualizing you. It's not that you sexualizing yourself. Do
Right.
whatever you want to do, twerking, blah 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 blah. And anything telling you not to do that is trying to oppress you. Meanwhile, the other racial groups, Arab, Asian, Indian, Jewish, their out of wedlock childbirth rates are under 4%. And their children are outperforming ours in every way. So if we're just running this like a business, I don't know how to say it without trying to blame the women, because I'm not trying to blame the women. I'm just trying to bring you into cooperation with data that shows you that what we're doing does not work.
And really,
Because it's not about blame.
really quick, Mr. Misha.
mm-hmm,
I just want to just harp on like the last thing that he said. Um, the data, not feelings, not
mm-hmm.
emotion, not people feeling like somebody is attacking them or shaming them. The data is showing that it's not working. So, like you said, we're gonna run it like a business. If people really do care, then we should probably pivot on what we're doing and try like go back to the drawing board and start doing something different. Because apparently, what we're not doing and what other people are doing, they're getting better results. And it's again, the data and statistics prove that when stuff is done the quote unquote the right way or done in a certain way, we are more successful than when it's not. So, I'm gonna shut up and then let you talk, Mr. Misha. I heard everything you said, and I respect everything you said. But to me personally, when you say, okay, well, we may have not been married, some children may have came into this world or come into this world from grape, and this parent might not have an addiction, so that doesn't mean throw the child away. Absolutely, don't throw the child away. I've never, I'm not saying throw the child away. I know Black Jesus isn't saying throw the child away, but I still get the vibe that you're still saying that, like, okay, even if you don't do it the right way, it's not, don't worry about people like shaming you or, don't be ashamed of yourself either. So to me, it kind of feels like you're still kind of leaving the door open to say, listen, this is the right way to do it. And it's because I always say this, women know better. They just choose not to do better. So then when they hear certain men say certain things, they feel like they're being attacked. They feel like someone's trying to shame them, but that's not the case. You knew. Now I'm not talking about you specifically as a woman. You knew for a fact that it wasn't in your best interest to have 3-4 kids by 3-4 different men. It wasn't same thing for the men too. But to sit here and try to like make it seem like it's okay when the data and statistics are proving and showing that it's not working and that's only being detrimental, I can't get with it. But go
No.
ahead, I'll shut up.
So I agree with
Is
both of
this
y'all
person kind of
that
joining?
Hold on,
it
hold on. She's speaking.
I'm just
no, no,
asking.
no. I agree. I agree that it takes the man and the woman. But I also know that circumstances come into play when the rug is shook. And I'm saying, don't throw your child away just because of what society's going to say. You stand up and take care. Because I know a lot of single fathers and the mother ran off the
Mm-hmm.
plug, and I know vice versa. But I absolutely agree with what y'all are saying. Based on the statistics, I understand how social constructs and power of influence and social media has infected and crippled relationships and men and women coming together and taking care of what they have together. I understand that, but no, I'm not leaving the door open, because then that would mean I'm going against what God said for us. The best way
Mm-hmm.
is to be married and make love and have your baby. That's supreme to me. Do y'all
Mm-hmm.
disagree with that? Is that what y'all are
No,
saying?
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all with that.
No, I
At all.
absolutely do. I absolutely do agree with that. But the thing about it, y'all, is that a lot of people, what y'all are talking about, this percentage of people don't have conviction in what they're doing.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that we're definitely at a, with all the spiritualism that's part of our community right now, the horoscopes and the praying to the ancestors and all of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you see online with all
Mm-hmm.
this spirituality and crystals and all of this shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no moral code that comes along with these spiritual practices that seem to be most prominent now with our women. And because it's all do whatever you want, whatever satisfies you, your happiness is key. Leave your husband if you're not happy. Leave your kids if you're not happy. If you aren't satisfied, girl, that's all
Mm-hmm.
that matters.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally like satanic. That I don't get how it's not being looked at as satanic, that there's no such thing as virtue or honor or duty. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. Like your virtue isn't tied to your behavior, your actions, your chastity, your modesty, your temperament, nothing. Your character isn't tied to your principles, your morals, your values anymore. Nothing. Nobody can judge you. Nobody can say anything because everything's a special circumstance. So there are no standards because you don't know if it was a three-legged dog with some hot sauce on a Wednesday afternoon on a pail of moonlight. Like it's always some type of marginal, anecdotal situation that absolves everybody of any standard. And men are sick of it, and we don't know how to communicate this to the women because they don't respect us. We haven't been in a position of respect in our communities since the '60s, right? And so there's no black men that women listen to are who are not pandering to the women, meaning
Right.
just telling them whatever they want to
Want to
hear.
hear.
Any men that do not pander to the women are toxic masculinity, sexist,
Mm-hmm.
patriarchy, you know,
Misogynist,
yeah,
narcissist.
misogynist, narcissist, and really the guys like me, we want to figure out. I don't know how to say this in a way that isn't causing the response. I just need the data to be understood. And then if you tell me you understand the data, and then you say, okay, you know what? In spite of all this, I don't give a shit, right? I like that long D, right? I like that long D from Pookie, and this is how we're doing it.
Cool.
Then do that. But
Right.
the disingenuous, and I'm not saying you did this at all, but the disingenuous, pretending like you don't even know what I'm talking about, it's gaslighting. It's maddening. It's maddening. The body count conversation. It's maddening. It's maddening.
I have a
It's
question.
all of these conversations we're having. It's maddening. It's driving. It's to drive you crazy. It's not to try to reach any type of solution. Go
Basically,
ahead. I'm
I have a
sorry.
question for you. When you set it up that at an alarming rate, women are choosing to have children by men out of wedlock, what what is the antidote to that when she's pregnant with a seed? Should she have an abortion?
Right. Okay. So, here's I'm not a proponent for abortion. Okay. Um,
Okay.
I so I kind of exist in a funny space. All right, when it comes to abortion, because I am a pragmatist. Okay. I don't like us not calling pregnant women that they're pregnant with children and calling them fetuses so that nobody has to feel bad about aborting them. Right. So I don't like that. Right. I don't think women should get abortions. Okay. I do not. However, I hate having to adjudicate that. I hate that there has to be a law about that and that men are having to. I wish that women thought that there was something really wrong with killing the child inside of them. I wish that was the moral position, right? I
Hmm.
wish that
Hmm.
abortion was something that women did for their to save their own health, right?
Mm.
Or
Mhm.
because they made the choice that it was going to be too hard for the child to live because the child was born with some type of massive defect, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
when 1% of the aborted children are, for grape, and 1% are for incest, then it's birth control. And so I don't like that we're doing that, and we should find a way to stop that. Now, I don't know if the canceling of Roe v. Wade was a way to do that and to put it on the states. I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to solve these problems, and I forego wanting to be a congressman, which was what I wanted to be when I was a young person. So to answer your question, we have to change it. We're dealing with two problems: the young people who have not yet made the mistake, and the folks who already are in it because they've passed the decision line and they've done it. For the ones who are young, we need to say, be a man of character, right? Be a woman of virtue, right? Marry before you carry. Now, that sounds like abstinence, but it's not, because the truth of the matter is that if you're having sex without birth control as a woman, that it's a matter of when you're going to get pregnant, not a matter of if, because that's how you make babies. So, this concept that is just happening to women and they don't know, when there's only like a week out of the month where you can even get pregnant, like this concept that it's all some big accident and that it's just a mindless mistake. A woman
Right.
that's 20 years old, or 25 years old, that started having periods at 13, has had 12 periods a year for over a decade. This woman has gone through this process 150 some odd times. Okay. It is, I don't believe that as many women are getting accidentally, stupidly, I had no clue pregnant as it would purport, especially since it isn't happening in other communities. So I believe that the problem is the narrative, the story we're telling our kids, because the women take no accountability. In my opinion, the women are not taking any accountability. They lay it all at the feet of the man.
Yeah.
He's a Pookie. He's a Ray Ray. He abandoned. He doesn't want to step up and be a man. Well, you had
Right.
sex with an irresponsible man, and having a child didn't make him responsible.
Right.
Shocker, right? So because of that, our young girls do not see themselves as responsible for being the guardians of their own wombs. They think it's 50-50 because that's what our women are telling them, because our women refuse to take accountability and responsibility for what they have done to their own lives. So they lie to themselves about how they got pregnant, and then that lie is being told to the daughters, and it guarantees the process keeps going, instead of going back and saying, no, I did this, I shouldn't have done it, it
Right.
was a mistake for me to do it, there was a better way for me to do it, I am blessed to have you, right? I love that I have you, you are a gift from God, but the right way to do it is this, and I went through all of these trials, these struggles, these tribulations, because I did it this way. So you
Right.
do not do it this way. Do you understand me? And that is missing. So the narrative right
But
now,
it's
from woman to
happening though.
woman.
But you don't have children out of wedlock, correct?
No, ma'am. Well, my
And
wife
I'm
did get
saying,
pregnant. My wife did get pregnant before I married her, but when I found out she was pregnant, 2 months later, I took her to the Justice of Peace and I married her, and I worked 80 hours a week. So she didn't have to work, and I did what I had to do. And we stayed married for 10 years, and she was a stay-at-home wife for all 10 years.
Mhm.
can I say
Okay, because it
something?
is happening basically, Black. It's happening in my home. So I'm so glad
Yeah,
that we got a chance to cross paths today because the dialogue is happening. I understand you're looking at
yeah,
the statistics, but the
yeah.
conversation is being had, and I'm an example of that. But I do stand with you and Noble as far as um, people making better choices. And I like how you put that women should be taught to be the guardians of their womb. I don't think I was ever taught that, not just flat out like that, but at the same time, you putting a lot on the woman because she knows her period, not even understanding that some people periods are irregular and all this and that. But then the man, not that you didn't negate what the man is doing, but you're speaking so intensely about the woman, but the man released the sperm.
Yes, the man is a supervillain. He's an
Can I say something?
irresponsible man. And it is your responsibility to not
But
have
how do you?
sex with irresponsible men.
But think about it. You stood up, right? You
Yeah,
took your woman to the justice of the peace, right?
yeah.
But there wasn't a guarantee that you was going to do that. You just did that. Some women have no idea that that's what it is. They
I
don't
know.
know all
I
the
know
ins and
it's a
outs. They don't know all
Can
the
I
ins and outs
interject the
about that
point?
human being. You understand what I'm
it's
saying?
even it's
Yeah,
even
hold
tougher
on, hold on,
for
hold on,
our
y'all, hold on, y'all. Vada, go ahead, interject. Go ahead, interject.
yeah.
So, and this is just to, because I like to bring light to situations. When we use percentages, numbers can look very minuscule. So just for example, when we're talking about abortion statistics based on rape, that's 3 million women that experience rape related pregnancies in their lifetime. And so while that percent sounds tiny, that number is huge.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
well,
not trying to
you can.
diminish. I'm not trying to diminish like rape victims at all right now. But we're having a more
Wait,
mechanical conversation about the community. We're not trying to validate or invalidate grape victims. Like obviously, if
Oh
somebody
no.
grapes somebody, I think they should castrate them, shoot them in the head, roll them in a ditch. I got a daughter. I do not
hold on,
play when it
hold on.
comes to that.
I have a
Totally get
question.
it.
Go ahead, Miss Bina.
I have a question,
Yes,
Vada.
ma'am.
Where'd you get that number from? You said there were 3 million rape victims that had babies. When and when? Where'd you get that from?
That 3 million rape victims that
Got
Worldwide
pregnant.
or in
were
America?
pregnant in America. In
In
America,
America?
yes. Well,
Is
there's a
that a
long list of
year?
statistics, and that's not the point. But yes, that's. Let me give me 1 second. I'll tell you the year.
Yeah,
Because I
because
know Mr.
we
Bina, you have. I know
Uh,
you have some statistics
That
on
doesn't
rapes.
sound right because the most
yeah
recent statistics I pulled up recently in Alive, and it was 0.47% of the population, which came out to 25,000 people.
yeah
no,
the
not
amount
that
of
had abortions that
No,
experienced rape-related
we're talking about
pregnancies.
great victims. Period.
yeah
Like as far as great victims as a whole, there was only like 300,000, and of those that actually got pregnant, only like it was only like a certain small percentage where it came out to 25,000. There
So
wasn't like 3 million people that were
almost
great.
3
You
million
make
women
sure
in
your
the U.S.
statistics
have
separates.
experienced
Yeah, it
rape-related
was just
pregnancies
women in
in
the.
their lifetime.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah,
yeah
okay. Well, that's lifetime. I thought you meant this year, so that's why I'm asking, like, for you to make sure. Because if you say it the way you said it, like 3 million, you make it seem like that was how many women total happened that year, and that's a very overwhelming
yeah
statistic
No,
that can cause
I
like
wasn't.
controversy. Because that's not true.
Yeah, that's what
I
they.
yeah
wasn't
So you mean like
speaking.
completely in their life, in their whole lifetime? So that's, I guess you could
Yes,
say, like in the last 50 years, 3 million people have experienced it.
And then
which is a lot of people, but
yeah,
we're not trying to discuss that right now,
yeah. We're
like
not talking
in
about
terms of
rape. We're just talking
validating that
about
experience. We're talking
yeah.
about the community.
Nobody's yeah. And let me say something really quick, and then Miss Sabina is here. Miss Sabina is the woman that made the comments in this video. Um, Miss Sabina, you're going to catch a lot of heat tomorrow. I'm just just letting you know as this video make the rounds. But
I
just
believe
to
it.
piggyback on what Black Jesus was saying, and then Miss Sabina, I'd like to hear you talk, and then Vada and Mr. Misha can respond to what you said. But you know, Mr. Demetri, I heard you like talking about, the woman and the man, and it seems like the men, not you, just you, but I hear a lot of women talk about, okay, what about the man and this, that, and the third. At the end of the day, these women, especially in our community, they are not only not getting married before they're having children, um, they are conceiving children with men that they're not even in relationships with. They are conceiving children with men that they don't even know from a can of paint. They are hooking up with men and conceiving children. And I always say this, and I'm about to say it again, and I'm about to mean what I say. I don't care how anybody feels. As a woman, you know that when you lay down and have unprotected sex with a man, you are not only subjecting yourself to possibly getting STDs and STIs, you are also subjecting yourself to the possibility of becoming pregnant. You know, at
yes.
the end of the day, that going into this, you have more to lose. So if you as a woman know that you have more to lose, you should go into the situation moving as if you have more to lose. You know, in 2022 that having a child by a man or conceiving a child with a man is not going to keep a man in your life. It is not going to make him want to be in a relationship with you. It is not going to make him want to be married to you. So being that you have more to lose, you as women need to operate like you have more to lose. We're not going to be talking about how he didn't stay anymore. Okay, how about you tell your son? How about you tell little Timmy how you don't even know who his dad is for real? How about you tell? How
So,
about you tell little? 1 second. How about you tell little Timmy? How about you tell little Timmy that you weren't even in a relationship with with his dad when you conceived him? Because another thing I'm not gonna get too deep into it because I do want to let Miss Sabina talk. Another thing is, there's a lot of women, especially in our communities. You don't even, you talk crazy about the dad to the child. You don't even you're the one that's responsible for the father not even having a relationship with the child because you despise the man so much for whatever reason. Y'all women are out here having children by men that, because like I say, y'all don't even be knowing them.
I
After the
like
fact,
to
y'all don't
tell.
even want the child to be around the man. You do your background check on the man and you find out the man is not even a man that you want around your children. Like, how many times do you need to bump your head? Because that's all y'all do over here. Y'all go ahead, you bump your head 1 time, you bump your head 2 times, you bump your head 3 times, bump your head 4 times, bump your head 5 times. You
No,
become a
well, that
single
many
mother.
women
One
ain't
second,
getting
one second.
pregnant
I'm not
that
done. One
many
second, please.
times.
I'm not done. You become a single mother of 3 kids by 3 different men, 4 kids, 4 different men, 5 kids, 5 different men. And then when you get on these platforms and you hear Noble being very respectful, saying that it's not okay, or you hear Black Jesus being very respectful, saying that it's not okay. Now, what about the dad? Why are you being a misogynist? Like, why are you talking like this? No, it is what it is. At the end of the day, you put yourself in that position. And I have a little sister. I have cousins. I'm going to make sure that they know that what a lot of you women are doing out here is not okay, and it is not the wave. And again, the data and statistics show that it is not cool, and it is not the wave. I just we
So
had
I
I had
don't
I had a
disagree.
live the other day. I had a live the other day talking about how Rebel mentioned that a lot of people they become successful and they get to certain places in life in spite of their single mother and not because of the single mother. 99% of the comments agreed with him. When the people came up that day, 99% of the people agreed with him. One woman came up here. She said she had a daycare. She said she raised a lot of people's kids. She said she's spent more time with a lot of people's kids than they've even spent than they've even spent with their kids. She said a lot of people's kids look up to her as their mom. So there's a lot of people out here that even resent their single mother, haven't even told them, have all these different feelings. So it's not okay. It has never been okay. It's not going to be okay going forward. Anyone that tries to come up with any justification for it, you are wrong, and I'm not supporting you. That's all I have to say.